So yeah, welcome back, everybody. We've had a lot of technical difficulties as of late.
Difficulties.
Difficulties, yeah, which have really sucked. One of the
Yeah,
mics
Tommy's
doesn't
mic
work,
broke.
so I'm like, okay, I'll just get my old earbuds and plug them into my computer, and they don't work.
But Tommy also
Nothing
only
else
has
works.
the fucking ear pods with the earpods. What am I, 80? He only has the headphones with the lightning port. So he can't plug those into his computer, and the other pair don't work. And um, so yeah, so this is a temporary set. We're on Zoom. Uh, so we have 45 minutes, and then this call is going to end, and then we're going to have to
Yeah,
start a new one.
there might be like a bit of a cutout in the
Yeah, so bear
after a
with
little
us
while,
on
but
this one. it's But we figured something out. And Tommy, I'm going to say it now. You need to buy a mic by
yeah,
next time.
this is just I don't know, just temporary. Um, like I said, temporary technical difficulties. But we'll be good. We'll be good. I think this episode will be fine. But anyways, let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about our rating system, like how we rate movies
hmm
on Letterboxd, and then also Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
yeah. So we're not like, I don't think it's really going to become like a thing of us like talking about movies and then giving it a numerical rating, but like we've kind of mentioned it offhand a few times, just like, oh, this is 4 stars, oh, this is 5 stars, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I figured like it was probably best to know for people to have a reference um, when we say that kind of stuff. So we're just gonna go through it from like each rating and kind of explain a little bit about it, and yeah. So should we do
Yeah,
one
because
at
at
a
the end of the
time or should we
day,
go back and forth?
um, I don't really care. But I was gonna say, like, at the end of the day, we have like different rating systems,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird. Like, I tend to rate like movies that I tend to rate things lower than you rate them. Like, you enjoy a movie, and you'd probably rate them like I don't know, like a little bit higher than if I felt the same way. But then also,
Mm-hmm.
you're I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't understand what the
Well,
fuck
that's
your
what we're
rating
talking about,
system is.
Tommy. That we're talking about
So
this for a reason.
yeah, well, hopefully we can clear this up
Hey, can I see
for
your
once and
face,
for all.
man?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna fuck with my microphone a little bit. Okay.
I'm actually gonna get my water too, so you can hear me slurp. Yeah, so go into it.
All right. So I guess what the fuck just happened here? God, technology sucks. Um. So yeah, I guess my lowest would be half a star. Um, and my kind of word for it would be like anything at half a star is like pretty much unwatchable at that point. Like I don't think it's even like it doesn't even fall at like this so good it's or so bad it's good kind of thing. It's just like terrible. Um, so like I started watching all the Twilight movies recently, and like they're fun to watch and whatever, but like they're terrible. And New Moon is just awful. So I gave it half a star because it's like just so bad to the point where it's like I don't really want to watch that one ever again. Like the first one, I was like, this is kind of funny. Like you put it on with people, and you all make fun of it and it's fun or whatever. But
Yeah,
New
like
Moon is
Spider-Man
just
3.
like, yeah, New Moon is just like so boring that you're like, nah, that's not even fun to do that with. Um, yeah, I'll just do all mine, and then you do all yours. That'll make it less confusing.
Or do you want me to just talk about like what I think about Half Star too?
Okay, fine. Yeah, we'll do that.
So yeah, basically like my thing is like I don't consider myself like any kind of esteemed movie critic or anything. I actually think I probably have pretty shit takes when it comes to
I am.
movies.
I'm an esteemed movie critic.
But
Pretty big
I
deal.
think half a star is saved for movies where I like genuinely believe that I could have done a better job than the people working on it. Like there's just such obvious, really clear things that are like, what the fuck happened here? And
From what I know, your only one is
I have only one movie that is half a star, and it's Here Comes the Boom with with Kevin James. If you haven't seen it, please see it. It's just, I remember the first time I watched it. I've only watched it once, and I was just like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like an epiphany of how bad a movie can get. It's just like every time like
It's
a
like
new
every other
scene,
bad
it got
movie seems
worse.
good by
It got worse, and I'm
comparison.
like, I can't believe it was miraculous at how bad they were making this movie, how cheesy,
Hmm.
how cringy, how boring it was. And I'm like, wow, this is on a pedestal of its own. So yeah, Here Comes the Boom.
My one star. That's just a trash movie. I have it written here. One word: garbage. Uh, Basically, it's like it's such a bad movie to the point where like I would never watch it by myself, but maybe with a group of friends it would be fun to watch. Um, and kind of rag on, but it's just one to the point where it's like it's not fun, it's not good. There's no message, just like all
Mhm.
around a bad time, but with enough in it to be like this could be fun with the right kind of crowd. Um, so for me, that's The Lion King, the 2019 one.
Yeah,
Um, it's just the
I haven't
fucking
seen
ugly ass CGI
that.
lions. Where Simba's dad dies and he's like, no, but his face is just like I
Yeah, it
made a
looks
facial expression at Tommy in a
like
Zoom.
SpongeBob when he goes round.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I for like 1 star movies, um, I don't know, like basically my whole philosophy on whenever I like see movies, I try to rank it on like a bell curve based on my enjoyment of it. So there are going to be movies at the tippity top that I enjoy so much, and there's only a few of those that like we'll get into later. And then at the same time, there's ones at the bottom that I really don't enjoy.
Right.
And usually most of the movies are around the middle. And that's just try to how I rank it because I want to. Because at the end of the day, I think most people would agree that they have only 1 or 2 or maybe 3 movies that they love above everything else, and only a few movies that they hate above everything else. So I just try to visualize or put that into my ranking system. And I
Mm.
feel like with 1 star movies, they're ones that I can like appreciate, but I just straight up don't vibe with. Like everything
Mm.
about it is just like not for me, or it's either just
But half a star
objectively.
you do not appreciate.
Half a star is, I've only seen one half a star movie, so it's hard for me to really talk about it in depth without going into Here Comes the Boom. But yeah, with 1 star movies, like I the ones that I thought of were The Last Airbender and The Lobster. And I
One of
think
those seems like it's more of a hot take than an actual.
one of them is a hot take, but I also just straight up didn't vibe with The Lobster. But
I know.
I don't know, like both of the movies I could see enjoying, but they're just like nothing about it I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
So 1.5 for me, that's a bad movie with at least a couple enjoyable moments. Um, so like if a movie is all around trash, but there's like maybe 1 or 2 parts where you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. Oh, that was cool. Oh, I like that. Um, that'll bump it up to like the 1.5 star territory. Which is I guess like Venom. Venom was
Mm-hmm.
uh, a bad movie. I know there are people out there who like love Venom, but I'm not one of them. But I do think like Tom Hardy's just absurd performance is enough to like give it a watch, and I never really want to watch it again. But um, it's like at least enjoyable in some regard because Tom Hardy submerges himself in a lobster tank, which is
Oh
in my
yeah,
opinion,
yeah, yeah.
should have gotten some recognition from the Academy.
So yeah, I with like 1.5 star, it's kind of difficult because at the end of the day, like a lot of the movies that I rank, they could be either 1.5 stars or 1 star or 2 star, and I just don't really know where to throw them. So a lot of it's just based on preference, and it's kind of just like a gut feeling kind of thing. But
Hmm.
so I kind of just like when I'm watching a movie, I just at the end of it, I'm like, okay, did I like it or did I not? And if I did like it, then it's probably going to be at least 3 stars, but probably around 3.5 or 4. If I didn't like
Hmm.
it, it'll probably be around 2.5 or 2.
Right.
So I just feel like there's not a huge difference between like my 1.5 movies and 2 star or like 1 star, but there is like a just an enjoyment thing. But I can think of Midsummer, which I just was bored the whole time, and I think with like after about 1.5 stars, that's when like I see movies that had cool ideas but didn't really capitalize on them,
Mm.
and just had a bunch of lost potential. So I could still appreciate what they were going for, but like, man, it wasn't as good as it could have been. It's basically my thing after 1 star.
Right. Yeah, my 2 star. That's definitely one that's like, um, it's anything 2 stars or below for me is bad, by all intents and purposes. But bad, 2 stars would be like bad, but like not to the point where I wouldn't ever watch it again. Um, like I know we said we weren't going to give examples for every single one of them, but like it's so hard to like not. Um, but I just watched Man of Steel the other day, and uh,
Yeah.
and I do not like that movie anymore. Um, but like it's
Side
enjoyable
note,
enough to pop it in
I
every
think
once
of
in
a
a
side note, Michael. Sorry, I think I've realized why the audio wasn't working. There's this little tear in
while. Oh my
the
god.
thing, so that's that's really funny. Um, yeah, no, that makes sense. I know for my 2 star, I'm a bit more lenient on it. I feel like for 2 and 2.5 star movies, those are the ones that are saved for like they're okay, but still whatever.
Right.
So those are probably the ones that have the most ups and downs. Like I can see why people like it, but like you know, just not my kind of movie, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I don't know, like I feel like I put a lot of movies at like 2 star, and people say like, "What? You gave it 2 stars?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not that bad. Like, you know, 2 out of 5 is not like a bad rating.
It's it's forty
It's
percent.
just well, that's like you're grading it on like a letter grade scale. That's in my
Believe it or not, Tommy, that's the
bottom forty
scale
percent of
I've been
movies.
using most of my life when it came to judging things.
Yeah, but if you're basing it on a bell curve, which I am, I'd say my 2 star movies are in the bottom 40% of all the movies I've ever seen. So like that's really
Mm.
not that bad. Like if I watched 40 movies, a decent chunk of them are going to be in the bottom 40% of the ones that I saw. So I wouldn't say that's like a bad thing. It's just like it's whatever.
See, but I love giving a movie a high score of like 4 to 5 because it's like a way nicer feeling than giving a movie. I
Yeah,
mean,
two. I will
New
say
Moon, I
two,
felt
and
no shame with, but like when
I
I
will
had to
say,
put,
there you go.
I was just gonna say when I had to put like an acclaimed movie at like 2 or below, I'm always like, oh.
Um, I always feel badly when I have to put an acclaimed movie at 2.5, or 3, because then that's like
Hmm.
it's such like a bland rating.
Yeah,
I would rather give like an acclaimed movie like half a star than to give it two stars, because it's just like then I can actually like rip on it and stuff. But I feel like if I give
right.
it like 2 or 2.5 or 3, then it's just me saying, yeah, it's okay, you know.
Yeah. 2.5 for me is just below average. That's it. It's just like slightly doesn't meet what it needs to be considered like okay. It's like just under that mark.
Yeah. Hold on, one sec. Have you heard that, everybody?
I'm leaving that
My
in.
water bottle, my water bottle makes dolphin noises whenever I drink out of it.
That's so weird.
Um, and speaking of dolphins, for my 2.5 movie, I have yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Um, I don't know, like it's like what I said, like they have ups and downs, but generally they're just kind of bland for me. It's like
Mm.
it's like if I had a piece of toast for breakfast, but with nothing on it. It was just the toast. that's probably what I would think of as 2.5 stars, because like, yeah, I mean, I'll eat it, but like, there's a lot better than this piece of toast.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I get from 2.5 star movies. They're just toast with nothing else on it.
See, for
The
me,
only
that's
ones,
3.
yeah, I gotta hate ratings.
Why?
They're just
Grading on
so
a bell curve
weird.
is psychotic, Tommy.
It's literally so normal.
It's not normal. Most
It's
people do
like,
have a bell curve, but it isn't exactly in the middle like yours. It's usually over to the right because that means you're enjoying stuff more.
well, I mean that maybe. I mean, you can skew your bell curves. Like if you only watched movies that you'd enjoyed, then you'd probably have a bell curve skewed to the right. If
Yeah,
you only watch movies
Tommy,
that you hate, skewed to the
why
left.
would you
But I
not
just try to
only
watch.
watch
I just try
movies
to
you
watch.
enjoy?
I don't. Well, I mean, because how am I supposed to know if
Why
I
would you
enjoy
go
it?
out of your way to watch bad movies so you can keep your
No, I
bell
don't.
curve?
I watch. Fuck you. I I just watch movies based on like recommendations and stuff. It's not whether or not I think I'm gonna enjoy it. I kind of just go into it blind. That's basically a lot of it. And I feel like if
And
I
you're
go
like,
into every movie blind,
Michael told me to
then
watch
yeah,
this, but I haven't given a bad rating in a while, and my bell curve skewed a little bit, so I
that's
better
not true.
just
I can't.
get on
I
it.
think most of the movies you've recommended have been like pretty not like pretty like 3 or 3.5.
Wow,
I
what
don't
a
think I've given
compliment,
many.
Tommy.
That's not that bad. 3.5 is pretty good.
Okay, so yeah, for I said it, but 3 for me is just a movie that's like okay, and I have no strong feelings on in either direction. If it's on like TV, like I'd probably just like leave it on, but like
Mhm.
I wouldn't be like, I'd probably like wash dishes or something while it's on.
Yeah, so 3 stars for me is actually the territory where I start like enjoying it,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I can talk like good. I can like really talk about that movie and talk about what I liked and stuff, but there's just no wow factor. Like it didn't do
Yeah,
anything extra special for me. It gave me, a good old massage, but nothing else.
yeah, I see that. Like a
Um,
movie you like, but you don't ever need to watch again.
exactly. It's like I don't know. What was my example? I have Akira and Space Jam.
Mm-hmm.
So Akira was a movie I was really, really excited about seeing, and there's a lot of amazing things in it, but for the most part, it just kind of is fine.
Right.
And with Space Jam, that's just a very nostalgic movie for me. But rewatching it, I'm like, yeah, this is like good, but like it's definitely not great.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel
so
that.
those are the kind of things I just whenever it's good but not great and has no like nothing to wow me is just easy 3 stars.
Yeah. Well, I feel like your 3 star, like our ratings aren't really that different. Mine's just kind of all yours bumped up half a star. Because my
Yeah.
3.5 is just like, yeah, I like it. It's a good, fun movie. Again, it's like not something I'm crazy about seeing again, but like, yeah, good movie. I get why people like it. So for me, that was a something like Back to the Future 2, where it's like, not as good as the first one. And, it doesn't have like the rewatchability that the first one has, but like definitely a solid time and a fun movie to like watch if it's on.
What happens in the second one again? I always forget.
Then he
He
goes to the
like
future
oh he actually literally goes to the future.
because
Oh,
his
that's when
kids, remember, when
he went to
Doc says like,
2015, right?
yeah, he's like, your
Your
kids are
kids,
all fucked
Marty. It's your
up.
kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually remember that because we were actually in the same
Your
class
kids,
that
Marty,
year.
they're saying, what are those?
Good one. Real funny. I remember we were in the same class when that day happened. It was like what is it,
When
October
what are those
22nd?
happened?
No, when he went back to the future. Like you know how he went to
Oh yeah, it was
2015,
October 21st,
and
2015.
the weird thing was that it said like Cubs win the World Series, and the Cubs were in
Mm-hmm.
the World Series that
Yeah,
year. That's
they
like
didn't
all I
win though.
remember.
They won
No,
the
they didn't.
next
But
year.
yeah, they did. Wow, look at you talking about baseball.
It's because it's in a fucking Back to the Future movie.
um, so yeah, for 3.5 stars, that's probably the point where I start to like really enjoy it, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I just have a lot of good things to say about 3.5 star movies. It's definitely like I enjoy 3 star movies, but 3.5 is definitely the part where it's like, yeah, I like this,
Yeah.
and it just feels good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't really think about. Well, I hate giving an example for everything, but like one of the examples was like Empire Strikes Back and Do the Right Thing. Those are both 3.5 for me
Tommy,
because I
those are
like
two.
them.
Those are like on like those are like in the top 10 of like IMDb's like best movies of all time list, and Tommy's like, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to do? Like change my opinion? Um,
No, of course not. There'd be no show.
exactly. There'd be no hot takes.
I know.
Wow, there's like side note. There's like this weird gluey thing on my wall. That's weird.
Is it
Anyways,
calm?
um, maybe. So anyways, yeah, Do the Right Thing and Empire Strikes Back are both 3.5 for me because I don't know. I like them. I don't feel like they're the best movies ever, and I feel like once it gets to this part of like my rating system, like the upper parts, it's not really about. Well, it is about like the quality of the movie, but it's more so about the impact that that movie has on me when I watch it. And
Hmm.
I feel like I for 4.5, and 5 stars, I can just those are all movies that I can like really, really have like a deep personal connection with. And I just feel like 3.5, I just don't have a personal connection with, but they're still very good movies.
Yeah, four. For me is any movie that I would consider great or say that like I love it. Um, like most of them are not like cream of the crop perfect movies, and that's what holds them back really is like actual quality things like Wonder Woman, right? That's 4 stars. And Tommy, I feel like I need an example on this one, but Wonder Woman, it's 4 stars because I really enjoy that movie and I enjoy Wonder Woman and the story and the message and all that. But like the third act, like even though I don't have as much of a problem with it, I can recognize that it's like not very good, and that definitely holds it back from like pushing up the extra star or half a star. So it's like basically movies that I feel in some way impacted by, but like just miss the mark of being like, you know, amazing movies on their own without like my own personal biases.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I would agree. I think 4 stars is definitely a threshold. Like if a movie makes it into 4 stars for me, it's like because basically for my rating system, you know how you can like movies too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I basically only like movies that are 4 stars and above.
Hmm.
Um, just because I feel like that's there's just this weird like wall that's at the 4 star like level, and once it gets to 4 stars, I feel like those movies hit that point for me that I just really
Yeah.
really like, and I can recommend. Basically all the movies that I recommend, like really really recommend, are 4 stars and above for me. Um, and that's probably how I would best distinguish that. Like if it gets to 4 stars, and that those are movies that I can recommend to people, and I don't. I still don't like. I can see the flaws here and there in them, but for the most part, there's like very very little I can complain about for a 4 star
Mm-hmm.
movie. Because it's like top. That means it's the top 80% of movies I've seen, and that's like
Right.
really really saying a lot. Because if you watch a lot of movies and something's in the best 80%, then that's like wow, it must be really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of how I view it. I try to just like the one of the movies is like The Incredibles. Like I love that movie, but it's definitely not like the perfect movie or the best movie I've ever seen.
Says you.
Yeah, sorry.
It
Well,
is a
there's
perfect
there's
movie.
one other Pixar movie that is perfect.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
The
whatever.
Incredibles.
4.5. That's any movie I'd consider like a masterpiece. Where it's like basically basically flawless, but like maybe there are some minor things here and there that are like or it just doesn't strike that personal chord with me. Like Django Unchained, I think that's a really great movie. I know you don't like it as much, but um, I think it's a really like well done, almost perfect movie. And by the way, this is coming from the resident Quentin Tarantino hater.
Hmm.
Um, but it doesn't do anything for me personally. So it misses the mark of crossing into that like however many. I think I have like 28 5-star movies, and those are like those are like movies you could like stick on my gravestone because that's how like you know treasured they would be. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, so 4.5 for me is a bit of the same. I would definitely consider them like if I rate anything 4.5 stars, and that's like instant like my pick for best picture or like one of should be a nominee at least.
yeah.
Um, I think like I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of the 4.5 stars I have. I have Parasite and I have Goodfellas, which are
Spider Verse.
and Spider Verse. Yeah, I would say they're movies that like really surprised me beyond expectations and aren't perfect. Like even Parasite, like I think the beginning was a bit slow, but as soon as they start getting the jobs, it starts picking up so quickly, and then everything is just so amazing after that. Um,
Watch. I've only seen it once.
yeah, oh god, I need to watch it again a third time. It's so good.
I'm so surprised it doesn't. But well, before we get into that, five
It's probably the
stars.
closest. It's probably
Five
the
stars.
closest to 5 stars.
There's kind of two criteria that fit into 5 stars for me. Um, one of those is like a movie I consider like technically perfect. For me, obviously, it's all subjective anyway. But like, um, that I consider like there's so few flaws that like I couldn't possibly bump it down to 4.5. Or it's a movie that's very personal to me. So like, um, Shazam is in 5 star territory. That is not a 5 star movie. I will 100% agree with you. But the impact it had on me when I left the theater and every time since that I've rewatched it is like, how could I not put that in like some of my favorite movies of all time? Because like, a movie doesn't have to be flawless for you to like love it that much. My favorite movie is not technically perfect either, which is Kick Ass. But then on the other hand, you have like a movie I would consider perfect and also very deeply personal, like Jurassic Park, where it's like, I don't know if there's a flaw in this fucking movie. And if there is, I don't care enough to look for it because this movie gets me so hype every time. So, like, those movies are just like, I don't know. I guess they're like super personal that would like say something about me, but also like on their own, I would definitely recommend any movie I have in the 5 star territory to like anyone.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I think the biggest thing going from 4.5 to 5 stars. With 4.5, I could easily consider all of those movies perfect and masterpieces. But with 5 star movies, I could easily understand why someone could say your 5 star movie that you like isn't perfect, and I would agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it a 5 star movie is the fact that I can overlook its flaws so easily. Like with if somebody could complain about a 4 star movie, I would have like an argument with it. But I feel like if someone was to like drag on Nemo or Airplane, which are probably my two favorite movies, um, I would just say, hey, look, I'm aware that, there are some flaws here there, but it's just such a perfect movie to me that there's no way I could ever drop it down no matter no matter what like conversation I have about it, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of just the thing for me. There's just like, there's no way I could ever overlook how great a movie it is and how special it is to me.
Yeah.
And I have three. I only have three movies ranked 5 stars: Nemo, Airplane, and Grave of the Fireflies. I might consider knocking Grave of the Fireflies down because I haven't seen it in a while, and it definitely
Really?
doesn't mean as much to me
Because that was the
as
first movie you ever recommended to me.
it was great. It's phenomenal. It's like it's easily 4.5 stars. I just don't know if it's gonna hit the 5 just because Nemo and Airplane are definitely so much better. But it is a great movie though.
Yeah. On the topic of 5 stars, let's talk about a 5 star movie, Tommy. We're talking about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, you meant a 3.5 star movie?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
already agreed your rating system's whack, so like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think both our rating systems are a bit whack, but as long as they're like understandable. But yeah, um, with Eternal Sunshine though,
Gonna gloss
I
over that.
liked it. I really liked it, and I don't know. I think there was some parts that I just didn't like care for a lot, but there were also some like incredible parts. Like there were some scenes where Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet would be like hanging out, and there'd be some like beautiful like guitar playing or something like that, or like
Mm-hmm.
piano playing, and they would just be like sitting there or just like watching the sunset, and this like amazing music would be playing, and it was just so aesthetic and like wow,
Mm-hmm.
like it just shook me. I'm like, wow, that's like incredible. But
Right.
for the most part, I just wasn't too captivated.
Also, we're gonna spoil this entire thing. This movie came out
Hell
17 years
yeah.
ago, so if you're worried about spoilers, just watch the fucking movie. It's on Netflix. But yeah, I watched this movie during quarantine. Uh,
Wasn't this your favorite quarantine movie?
it was one of them.
Which one
I
was
think
it?
I think
Was
I
your favorite?
put my favorite was Nightcrawler.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Um, but so I watched it a while ago. Wasn't huge on it at first. Then it grew on me. Then I rewatched it this time, and I was like, "Yeah, this movie's fucking." I can't think of a flaw, um, for me anyway. But so what I like about this movie is like it's done in such an interesting way. Like you would think it's like, oh, they're telling the story out of order, but like they're actually telling it in the exact order they need to for it to be as effective as it is by the end. Um, so like the movie kind of starts out and it's like you don't really get it because it's kind of weird, and he's like, oh, I just went to Montauk for no reason. I don't do stuff like that, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be kind of quirky. And then like he meets Clementine, and she's classic, like really in his face and like really like silly, and she seems like a weird person. You're almost like, I don't really get why these two would start building a relationship based on a first impression like that. um and then we flash to the scene of him crying in the car while he's going home to start the procedure. um and then the whole movie pretty much takes place his um in his brain. And I thought that was really cool the way they did it, how he walks into his house and he like passes out on the floor and you don't really know what that's about, right? um, and then the first thing you see when you're in his head is literally the scene just before. Like, do you remember he walks into his apartment and this guy's like, oh, what are you doing for Valentine's Day this year? um, and Jim Carrey's like, oh, nothing, nothing, not much, because he didn't want to tell him about Clem or whatever. And
Yeah.
then when he hooks him up to the machine, like the first thing the viewer sees is that memory of the same guy going, "Hey, what are you doing for Valentine's Day?" And so that kind of starts what I really like, which is that they're showing every memory in reverse, um, of how they happen, which I think is cool. Uh,
Yeah. So, when I first watched the movie, I thought it was, I think it was a little bit confusing. I think the fact that you're explaining it now definitely clears it up. I would say this is one of those movies where a rewatch, it's not necessary, but it definitely helps. I didn't
it
watch it
does.
twice, but the fact that you're talking about it in that way definitely makes me realize that I should consider watching it twice.
Well, because I was noticing all kinds of things where I was like, "Oh, I'm a fucking idiot." I didn't even notice that the first time. Like,
Yeah,
duh.
I remember at the end of the movie though, my brain immediately went back to that first scene where he was like Montauk, because when I forget, they're like all his memories are being erased, and right as they're about to go, he tells Clementine like, "Meet me in Montauk,"
Mm-hmm.
and then it just like cuts.
Right.
And I think the scenes where they were running in the memories together,
Mm-hmm.
and everything was like being destroyed around them was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you just saw that like, I don't know, it was just a really cool metaphor, not metaphor, but like
Visualization.
idea. Yeah, visualization. And I just like the idea that there are some people, um people want to like get rid of people from their mind and wish they never met them and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie kind of says it's not worth it to do that. And I think that was
Right.
really cool. I just love that.
Oh yeah, and I like what you're talking about with the memories, um, about how they're like visually fading away like that. Like that's part of the reason I like love this movie so much is there's these little like touches of like you know, so like in the memories they'll kind of he's like pretty conscious of what's going on, like he knows his memory is being erased, and so he's trying to hide Clementine, but like the way they kind of do it so that he is is switching between like reenacting the memories himself and switching back to like his conscious self that's like, no, we gotta go, we gotta do this. It's very like seamless. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he'll like run into his scene with the goal of like hiding Clementine, but like he'll start reenacting whatever memory they've walked into, and then he'll be like, wait, no, we gotta like go, you know? Because there's a scene where he's trying to hide her, and they go into a memory of them at a drive-in. Um, and you could tell he's kind of just like sitting there, like appreciating the memory. And like because he like took so long doing that, like it starts disappearing around him immediately.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of what the movie is about, right? It's he
Mm-hmm.
goes into the procedure like, wanting the procedure to happen, and then he realizes that at the end of the day, even though this one girl kind of not like fucked his whole life over, but really hurt him. He doesn't want to get rid of those memories, and he realizes that
Right.
those memories are really, really important to him. Which I don't know. I think is so cool that they did that, and they definitely like conveyed that idea really, really well with like real great pacing too.
Yeah. And like another thing I like noticed, like Elijah Wood's character.
Yeah, Frodo.
Yeah, Fred.
Frodo
You're
and
like that.
Polka
You're
in
like
this
the
movie.
guy. You're like the guy that like every time I go on a YouTube video and like look at a comment from like some random movie and it's got two actors that were in something notable, they'll be like, "Oh my god, it's the Riddler and the Hulk and and Frodo."
I just see Elijah Wood and I can only think of Frodo. Feel bad. It's the same thing
Right.
with like Daniel Radcliffe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
How am I ever supposed to not see Harry Potter?
um, but yeah, so like there's a part where you know Elijah Wood's character, he's like using Jim Carrey's memories with Clementine to try and pick up Clementine now that she doesn't remember him anymore.
Yeah, he takes the bag that Jim
Right.
Carrey gave him, and he
Mhm.
just starts giving her all the shit that
Yeah.
Jim Carrey had.
Which and so like in um his brain, like he doesn't know, he can hear Elijah Wood there talking about Clem, but like he can't interact with him because he can't open his eyes or anything.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right.
and then like you see he relives the memory of going up to Clementine in the library while she's talking to Elijah Wood, and he tries to see his face, but because Jim Carrey never actually saw his face in real life, his brain can't his brain can't just make up a face. So he tries to turn him around, and like you just keep
There's
seeing
no
the back of
face.
his head. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they do that a little later in the movie where
He
because
goes
his
into a room
memory's
and there's
being
like no face. There's like people with no faces, right?
right. Yeah, that's the doctor.
Oh,
Like he doesn't
yeah,
remember the
because he has
doctor
to.
anymore.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. He has to get rid of the memory that he ever saw the doctor because the doctor
Mm-hmm.
is related to. Yep.
Right, exactly. So I thought all that stuff was like really interesting that they didn't have to put in, but it makes it feel so much more that you're actually in a brain that was being released or being erased, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess my big thing, when I watched this movie, we had talked about this that I want to be convinced to put this movie a little bit higher than three and a
Mm-hmm.
half. So I guess my question is, how are you going to convince me that this movie that I should rank this movie higher? Like, what's like the big thing that you think I should think about more?
Well, I guess what would be your like takeaway like as the message of this movie? I'm wondering if we have different ones.
I the thing I got was that like relationships can be very toxic and sad,
Mm-hmm.
but it's at the end of the day, like, you still shared a portion of your life with this person, and it's not worth it to focus on the bad. And it's actually, you should remember the
Yeah.
good times you had together. That was basically what I got from it.
Yeah, so it's definitely like one of my takeaways. But another one I feel like would be like, the scene in the end at the hallway where she's like, oh, but because like they hear each other talking bad about each other through the tapes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that was really cool.
and she's like, you're gonna think all those things about me, and he's like, but I don't right now, and she's like, but you will, and he's just like, so, and they start laughing, and like there's kind of this agreement of just like, okay, we'll try again, even though we know that inevitably we might be doomed to fail. So my takeaway was kind of that like all relationships are inherently gonna be messy and you're gonna have like problems and big fights and all that kind of shit. But I think it was a lot of like learning to judge for yourself. Is it worth it? With this specific person to like try again, and like I guess like is it better to try again or try and forget someone? Because I think even though Clementine had a lot of issues, and Jim Carrey's character, who for some reason I can't remember the name of, had a lot of issues. I think they both like had some kind of like very strong connection, and the fact that they gravitated towards each other like again by the end is like I guess it's like sometimes you just know, and I guess like some things might be doomed to fail, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it another chance if you feel like that's the right thing to do. I guess it's like this thing of
Yeah.
like passivity
Yeah.
versus choice.
I think I think that's the point of it. Like, yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Like, you can know that something is doomed to fail, like how Clement, what is his name? I actually really forget his name.
I'm gonna look it up.
Jim Carrey, Clement, Dr. Eggman. They they literally got their brains washed, but still at the end of the day they made sure that they knew that they were both going to Montauk because they realized that they still care about each other.
Yeah.
And hey, Lily. No, she can't.
You said hi.
Oh, am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay.
What do you think
Hi,
about
Tommy.
Eternal
I
Sunshine?
can't hear any response you give, but
He said, what do you think of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
I loved it. I won't watch it again though because it was not fun. But I honestly thought it was really smart and the writing was like incredible.
Ask her
Did you
who
hear that?
Jim Carrey's name is. Yeah, I heard it.
What's Jim Carrey's character's name?
Isn't it Joel?
Joel.
Joel.
It is
yeah,
Joel.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, Tommy.
See ya.
Said bye. Women.
Jesus.
It would have been funny if I could go on that whole tent about like love and relationships. Then my girlfriend walks in. She walks out. I'm just like, oh,
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's still really important to love each other. Get the fuck out. I'm recording a fucking podcast.
Yeah, so the theme, right? But yeah, you're right. You're spot on with your analysis too.
You mean
But I guess-
Spotless Mind.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Be here all week, baby.
But the other takeaway I kind of had from it was like it's interesting that he gets his memory wiped, right? Like it's like this like science, right? Like it's this new technology that's been perfected or whatever. And the fact that like even though they technically erased every part that they needed to, there was still like something that remembered Montauk in the back of his head, you know, and when Elijah Wood is kind of recreating all these memories with Clementine, like when they go out on the ice, and when he's reading her quotes that Joel said, it's like that he's accidentally jogging something in like the recesses of their brain, but there's nothing there to jog. So for me, that kind of takeaway was like, there are some things that are not based in science. And I guess the cheesy answer is like, love is one of those things.
Yeah, I definitely got that too. I think if there's anything I've learned from growing up in an evangelical church, there are a lot of things that science has wrong, like love, as you said, evolution.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, like, sorry, can
What?
were you not listening?
I heard evolution.
I was doing a bit about how evolution isn't based in science.
Well, I was gonna say something, Tommy, but I was like, did he grow up in a church? I don't know.
No. I'm very not religious. No, but I think that is true. I think there's definitely something beyond just like the chemicals in your brain. But maybe there's not. I don't really know. I don't really know the
No,
science.
I don't think it matters if there
yeah,
is. Yeah,
that's exactly it. It doesn't matter.
In terms of like our perception of it, right? I think even though it's easy to be like kind of pessimistic and be like, well, technically love is just this chemical and this chemical go firing off in your brain. And it's like, yeah, it is. But also, I think that's like kind of a cold way to look at the world. It's like, I don't know. I guess there's a certain like benefit to like explainable things, Like Tommy, I can't explain why like you're one of my closest friends, but like you just are,
I know it's because of my fat hog.
It's your fucking horse cock.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like they're I think it's exactly what you said. A lot of the best things in life, you just can't really explain why you like it. Like with Airplane and Finding Nemo, probably my two favorite movies. At the end of the day, I have no way to explain how good they are, why they are good movies. And if I were to write an essay, it wouldn't even be about the movie. It would just be about me, because I feel like exactly. And that's what I liked, that the movie kind of, it captured that idea.
Well, I think nostalgia is like it's a huge fuel for like funding our opinions on things. And a lot of people see it as like a negative thing. Like, oh, you only like that because you're nostalgic. And you're like, yeah, I guess like if you're trying to like be a proper critic, you want to separate nostalgia or whatever. But I don't see it as like a negative thing, because like, there's a reason you're nostalgic for things,
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely has like, would I like the original Spider-Man trilogy as much if I didn't watch it on repeat, as a kid all the time? Like, I don't know. And I think this movie kind of gets at that question of like these unexplainable just like things. And I think as someone who's been in a long-term relationship for a little while, it gets a lot of things about relationships like spot on, like I think, for example, the way they're able to go from like being super happy and like goofing around to being like mad at each other like that, and then back to being happy, that's just that's how
I remember
works.
that thing where like people are like yelling at each other, and they're like generally mad, but then instantly they just start laughing, and then it's like it's over, like nobody,
right.
And they got that, but I wouldn't say that's like a good on the movie, because I feel like any movie could do that just as well,
Well, I don't know, but I'm talking about more the relationship specific things, the way they talk to each other and the arguments they had, the way they make it sound like, you know, they've been having the same argument forever and ever. I don't know, it struck a chord with me. And then the message about like being, you know, able to accept the problems you have with each other that aren't necessarily flaws with the other person, but just personal things like, you know, I forget the specific examples, but like Clem's is that like he's boring and his is that she's impulsive. And those are like things that they don't like about each other, but that they end up appreciating about each other when they're going through the memories.
Absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway is everybody tell your partner that they are your 5-star movie.
They are your Shazam.
Yeah.
But in terms of other stuff, like, did you know, like, I want to know, when did you kind of catch on that the first time we see them meeting in the movie, which is on the train, when did you catch on that was not when they actually first met?
Oh, it was once he said, "Meet me in Montauk." I didn't really think back to that scene very much. And then he said Montauk, and I'm like, oh, that would make sense because in the beginning he said that. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely like that they did that. And I forget how it ends. They're together at the end, like at the very, very end. Are they still dating?
Yeah, I believe it's the hallway scene, and then there might be a scene after of like Kirsten Dunst driving away or something. But I'm not like 100% sure. But I think what?
I was gonna say I also I think I caught on to something when he was like, I remember when we first met at the beach.
Yes,
and then I'm like, wait, I thought you met at Montauk.
That's what my girlfriend who watched it for the first time with me when I rewatched it, she caught on to that and she was like, wait, I thought they met at on the train or whatever. But I didn't. I was like you, like I caught on to that really late in the game, like right around the meet me in Montauk thing. And then I was like, oh, they already had their memories wiped. And that's why it was like, so like, that's why they're both so like not normal, but like, you know what I mean? Like we see their personality at the beginning and that's like a big exaggerated version of their personality traits that we actually know. And I assume that's because of like the turmoil in their brain from having that procedure done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, yeah, definitely. But we have been praising it a lot. I think because I didn't give this I gave it 3.5, which is still really good. But a couple of things. I thought that the side characters, literally the highlight was Clementine and Joel. I feel like they just were standouts, like above everybody else. And Kirsten Dunst was also pretty good. But Elijah Wood, he was kind of just there to like fuck with Joel. And I know he did some important things, but I just didn't really care about. And Mark Ruffalo, I cannot think of anything he actually did in the movie besides like.
I think Mark Ruffalo he was just like he's the one character without a pretty.
Because he's there to like he's there to like find Joel and like make sure that everything's going, but he just constantly screws it up. So it's like he doesn't really have a purpose. You know, he's never doing anything
purpose is to,
right.
Yeah. Well, I think his purpose is to kind of. Really show Joel as a specific person his like resistance to the procedure, because like when Joel like opens his eyes and when he's kind of off the map, it's stuff that Mark Ruffalo had never seen before. He has to call in the expert, so that's kind of like to let the audience know like Joel is kind of doing something different. Like maybe even Clementine didn't resist like this because Mark Ruffalo doesn't know how to deal with it. But I agree. I don't think he has that much to do. But I would disagree on Elijah Wood because I think he's a pretty powerful example of like how people can abuse that kind of example, and even in the real world, like use your previous traumas against you. So I think he's a good like foil for like why this technology would be no good in real life. And like he's just again, he reinforces that like maybe science doesn't solve everything because he's accidentally jogging Clementine's memories, even if she doesn't have those memories anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Kirsten Dunst, I actually really like what they do with her because she's obviously she's what you need to have that finale of them listening to the tapes. You know, you need someone to send out those tapes. But I think, again, kind of like what I just said about Elijah Wood, like she seeing that like they had already wiped her memory. And again, she, just like Joel, was still infatuated with the boss. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I did. I remember really liking that part because it was like the wife came in and then she was like, "No, you've already had him before." And I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?" And then I realized like, "Oh God."
Yeah, and it kind of makes your skin crawl that you're like, "What the fuck? You can just erase this girl's memory and not tell her."
Yeah. So I think my final question, because how many minutes are we in? Are we like close to wrapping up?
I don't know. There's no timer on this puppy.
All right. Well, let's say. My question is this a happy or sad movie? Because thinking about it, I can definitely see both. And there are some like really sad parts, like when Joel first goes into the doctor's office and he has a giant bag, and then other people also have giant bags, and they just
Yeah,
that was just a
and
really
he's
like
just sitting in the waiting room.
yeah, that was like a really underrated part of the movie. But
Oh, definitely.
not many people talk like that whole visualization of all those people with their garbage bags of things from their former lovers. That's just like heartbreaking. That's like
Yeah, and
really
it's
really
literally like
sad.
your metaphorical baggage from your previous
Yeah.
relationships, you know?
And but at the same time, I think the message of the movie isn't a sad one. So I have no
No, I
idea
don't think so
how to
either,
say if
but
it's sad or happy.
I guess it depends on how you read it, you know? Because you can read the fact that they're doomed to fail and willing to try again as them being stupid, or you can read it as them being optimists, you know?
Hmm.
And I personally would read it as them being optimists. But like, okay, so like the theme of like you know, being doomed to fail and trying again anyway. I don't know. I think it's supposed to be as complicated for the viewer as it is for the characters, you know? Because is it necessarily a good thing to put yourself in a position where you know you're going to get hurt again, or is it beneficial to go into that kind of situation with what you already know? For me, I feel like it's kind of an uplifting movie because it kind of re-solidifies that, like, you know, oh, whatever, like bad things happen, you know, it'll never be more worth it to like forget about those things.
Yeah, I just don't know because the message of the movie isn't really you should or should not go for it. It kind of, for me, it wasn't like saying, yeah, if you've had like a rough relationship, but you're like kind of on and off again. Um, I don't know if the message was you should go for it.
No,
it
I
kind
don't
of
think
felt like the
so.
message was there are inevitably bad things that happen in relationships, and
Mm-hmm. It
it's
doesn't mean
understandable. It's
we're all love or
exactly. It's understandable if like you're upset by them, but it also doesn't mean that you should wipe them from your memory forever. You know?
yeah. And I guess, you know, we've kind of been talking a lot about the more broader concepts of the movie, but specifically, I think it's just a really interesting concept and done in a way that I think was like the best they could have done with it, you know? And
Yeah.
just the cinematography was great. I thought the acting from pretty much everyone was great, you know?
Especially, I brought this up before, but those few scenes with like the piano, or it was either piano or guitar, and they were just like in really like vibey settings.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember there was one where I think she was on Clem was on Joel's back, and they were just like walking on the beach, and there was some really nice music going behind it. That was
Oh,
just
it was the one in the snow.
yeah, something like that. That was just
Mm-hmm.
like wow. Like I have not seen a movie capture such like a beautiful and like fun time than that. And
Yeah,
that's
that's what I
like
mean.
what sticks out to me the most.
And there are a bunch of them like that. And I think that's why it's so cool that the movie goes in reverse order. Because first you see why their relationship failed before you see why they were even in a relationship in the first place. So I think that's a really effective way of like reminding the audience that like, no, these are supposed to still be two like good people who have a nice relationship, even if on the first couple minutes you only see like why they are not good for each other. So I really like that decision. Yep. So I'm curious though, like, what are your things holding you back?
It just didn't click. Just didn't really click with me. Like the whole thing I was bringing up about how like there needs to be this wow factor. There just like wasn't really. Like I
Really?
think about all the movies that are like 4 stars and above, and I can like without a doubt say, yeah, I enjoyed those more than Eternal Sunshine. I felt like Eternal Sunshine was probably done better, has a much more in-depth message, but it doesn't. This is one of the other things I probably should have brought up when we were talking about our ratings. But one of the big things for me when I'm watching a movie that like I really enjoy is for it to have charm, and charm is kind of a hard thing to uh,
But you can't
verbalize.
define that either. You know?
Can't really define it, but I can say without a doubt, like Nemo has charm, like Parasite has charm. There's just this. It's literally the whole science thing. There's this inexplicable feeling you get when watching it that you can easily like point to that movie and say, yeah, that's where this feeling is coming from. It's coming from this movie, and
See,
I just
kind
don't
of
have
feel
this
that a lot
feeling
with
of
this.
charm from this movie though.
That is interesting because I really do feel that. Like I would say this is one of the best romance movies I've really seen. You know?
Yeah, it's great. It's very good.
And I think, but yeah, I do see where you're coming from because it's a little like sleepy, I guess. Like I it's not one I want to watch often,
And
but
it's also, I feel like there just isn't that much going for it besides the message, right?
right, but
Like
isn't
with
that the
my
most
favorite,
important part?
yeah, I mean it is, but
Because I think
I
the
feel like,
spectacle is really cool in the
yeah,
brain.
yeah, I mean I guess you're right, but at the same time, I just feel like with the movies that I really like, there are things going on besides like the main thing that's being focused on, which is that's a very bad way of explaining it. But with Eternal Sunshine, it's just like I felt like the whole movie was for this one message, and it did it really well. But besides that message, I just feel like the support around it isn't enough for me to love it. Whereas with other movies that I really, really enjoy, the main thing, I love it too. And the support is also really good. If that makes any sense.
Well, I see that, but I am curious for my own self-interest. Did I at least shed more light on this movie for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely like this movie, and it's probably towards the higher end of my 3.5-star movies.
I'll take that.
But I don't know.
3.5 is pretty good for movies I've recommended you.
Yeah.
I still think the movie you liked the most that I recommended you was Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, that the movie is great. That is it's so fucking funny.
That's a movie where like I could always be in the mood to like watch it. Like, like if it's on or someone wants to watch it, I'd be like, hell yeah, dude. I'll watch that puppy. But ultimately, we're getting rid of thumbs up and thumbs down, by the way.
Yeah, what is it again? We came up with it.
Is this movie a Chad or is it bad?
This movie's easily a Chad.
Yeah,
Pretty
I would say
easily a
this
Chad.
movie is a pretty big Chad. If you like romance movies and if you like, I guess, more like interesting like this is definitely one of the more like artsy metaphorical movies that I actually like, because for the most part, when a movie is like very metaphorical and very artsy, I tend to just like not like it.
No, I agree. I think this is a movie that I feel like pretty much everybody can enjoy. I feel like there are like a lot of movies that are like based in romance that are meant for a very specific like audience.
Right.
And they don't really hit with everybody, but I feel like this is a movie that everybody can watch and everybody can see the beauty in. And it doesn't really alienate any kind of viewer. It feels very accessible to watch for any person.
it's definitely super accessible, and it brings you through a wide range of emotions, which I always like in a movie. When it can be sad while also being super uplifting. Like also 500 Days of Summer, a movie I watched pretty recently, was able to do that a lot, where it was like, I was like, oh my God, this is so like cute and fun and uplifting. And then it was like, oh my God, that just made my heart sink and I feel terrible. So I really like when a movie can do that. But yeah, go watch this movie.
Definitely. Do you want to end it off with recommendations, or do you want to quit while we're ahead?
How long do recommendations take? 20 seconds?
Probably.
Let's do it, Tommy.
So I saw a few movies recently. My housemates and I were watching Poltergeist, and I fell asleep, so I wouldn't recommend that. We were also watching Princess Diaries, and I fell asleep for that too. I've not been doing well with movies, but I will say, of the movies I've watched recently, I'm just gonna look at my box.
TV or a game?
I'll say Django.
That's a movie I fucking saw. Minx. You're so annoying.
What? It's a good movie. I didn't love it. It was like good. But I think it's a movie that a lot of people can get down for. But if you want the better Tarantino movie, definitely watch Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Tommy's fucking lying through his teeth right now.
Yeah. All right, what's your...
If you want the only good Quentin Tarantino movie, watch Django Unchained. I just said the Django. Django Unchained.
The Django.
The Django Unchained. My recommendation, the new Phineas and Ferb movie came out.
Oh my God.
It's pretty fun and it's pretty cute. It's not really that great, but you should watch it. And you should just watch Phineas and Ferb in general. Tommy and I love Ferb specifically.
Yeah, Ferb is pretty great.
For my laptop.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I would draw the little nose and just see if anybody got it. That'd be really funny.
But other than that, yeah, I've been slacking on watching anything. I'm probably going to watch, I'm Not Okay With This later.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Have
we'll be back next week.
Tolerant day.